Africa has powered the modern world for decades. Now it may be ready to power itself.
The battery that could change Africa forever. For decades, Africa has powered the modern world quietly, invisibly, and often without reward. Think about the device in your hand, the electric vehicle in your neighbor's driveway, the massive battery storage systems keeping the lights on in distant cities. Every one of them begins here. The cobalt in your phone, dug from the red earth of the Democratic Republic of the Congo. The copper in your home's wiring, smelted from the rich veins beneath Zambia's soil. The lithium, manganese, and other critical minerals inside every electric vehicle, they were pulled from African ground. For generations, this has been the pattern. The continent supplies the world's most vital resources, but the resources leave raw. They are shipped across oceans, refined in distant industrial hubs, turned into trillion-dollar industries somewhere else. But now, in the heart of Central Africa, something unprecedented is unfolding. Two countries historically bound by shared geology and overlapping borders are attempting what Africa has never done before. Not exporting the minerals, not digging deeper and shipping faster, but building the battery itself. This is not just an industrial project. It is an attempt to rewrite the rules of global trade from within one of the most resource-rich regions on Earth. The old system. Look at a map of Central Africa. At the center lies the Democratic Republic of the Congo. It holds roughly 70% of the world's known cobalt reserves, a mineral so essential to the green energy transition that it has been called the new oil. Just south, across a porous border, is Zambia, one of the world's great copper producers. Together, these two nations sit on a geological treasure chest that the rest of the world depends on. For decades, the pattern never changed. Dig, load, export. Raw cobalt leaves in bags and containers. Raw copper leaves in massive trucks bound for ports in Dar es Salaam, Durban, or Beira. The real money, the refining, the chemical processing, the precision manufacturing, the battery assembly happens far away. In China, which refines more than half of the world's cobalt. In South Korea, home to some of the largest battery manufacturers on Earth. In Germany and the United States, where automotive giants are racing to secure supply chains. Africa supplies the ingredients. The world makes the product. And in that simple division lies a century of lost opportunity. Why batteries matter? The world is racing toward electric vehicles. That much is well known. But what is often overlooked is this: the heart of every electric vehicle is not the car, it is the battery. The battery accounts for roughly 30 to 40% of an EV's value. That is where the margins are. That is where the jobs are. That is where the intellectual property is. And that is where the next trillion-dollar industry is forming. Governments across North America, Europe, and Asia are pouring hundreds of billions of dollars into building domestic battery supply chains. They are racing to secure access to the very minerals that Congo and Zambia possess in abundance. And for the first time, the governments of Kinshasa and Lusaka are asking a different question. Not, how much can we dig? Not, how quickly can we ship? But, what if the battery is made here? The plan. In 2022, the Democratic Republic of the Congo and Zambia signed a historic agreement to create a joint electric battery value chain. This was not a mining deal. It was an industrial vision. The goal is to build, from the ground up, a complete battery ecosystem. Refining plants to process raw cobalt and copper into precursor materials. Processing facilities to manufacture battery components. Eventually, full-scale battery assembly lines capable of producing the power packs that will drive electric vehicles across Africa and beyond. Special economic zones are being planned near mining regions. The idea is simple. Instead of trucks loaded with raw mineral heading straight to ports, they will soon be heading to factories just a few hours away. This is not about mining more. The DRC and Zambia already dominate global production. This is about stopping the export of value. It is about capturing the part of the supply chain that has always been captured by others. Why the world is watching. This move changes global calculations. Currently, most of Congo's cobalt is refined in China. That concentration of processing power gives Beijing significant leverage over the global battery industry. It is a structural advantage built over 2 decades of strategic investment. But if refining and battery production begin to happen in Central Africa, something shifts. Supply chains shorten. Control diffuses. Economic gravity begins to move closer to where the minerals actually come from. This is why global powers, institutional investors, and major manufacturers are watching closely. The United States, the European Union, and China have all increased diplomatic engagement with the region. Development finance institutions are exploring how to support cross-border infrastructure. Automakers are quietly evaluating what a locally integrated supply chain might mean for their long-term sourcing strategies. This is no longer just a mining story. It is an industrial story, and it is a geopolitical story. The bigger meaning. For decades, Africa has been told a version of the same thing. You are rich in resources, and yet, resource wealth rarely translated into industrial power. Countries with abundant minerals remained among the poorest in the world. Economies remained extractive. Jobs stayed at the bottom of the value chain, because the missing step was always manufacturing the ability to transform what comes out of the ground into something more valuable than the sum of its parts. This is that missing step. If Congo and Zambia succeed, it sets a powerful precedent. It demonstrates that minerals do not have to leave Africa raw. They can leave as finished products. Or better yet, they may not leave at all. They could feed a new generation of African industry, electric buses in Nairobi, battery storage systems in Lagos, manufacturing hubs that serve a continent of 1.4 billion people. This is not just about batteries. It is about rewriting the relationship between resource wealth and economic sovereignty. The challenge is, let us be clear, this will not be easy. It requires reliable infrastructure, roads, railways, and ports that can move materials efficiently. It requires consistent electricity, a challenge in regions where power grids remain fragile. It requires political stability and regulatory coherence across two countries with complex governance histories. It requires massive investment, billions of dollars in capital that must compete with established supply chains elsewhere. And it requires technical expertise that, for now, exists primarily outside the continent. There are also entrenched interests. Global supply chains are built for the current system. Refiners, traders, and manufacturers who benefit from the old model will not simply step aside. But the fact that the attempt is happening at all, that two African nations have come together with a shared industrial vision, is itself historic. It signals a shift in ambition, a refusal to accept that the continent's role is permanently limited to extraction. For the first time, the question is no longer, how much cobalt will Africa export? The question is, how many batteries will Africa build? And if this works, if the factories rise, if the value chains integrate, if the jobs materialize, then the story of Africa's minerals may finally change. From dug here to built here, and that change, from raw material to finished product, from extraction to industry, could transform Africa's economic future forever. Not just for the DRC and Zambia, but for every resource-rich nation on the continent asking the same question: why should the value of our resources leave with the ship? The battery being built in Central Africa is not just a source of power for electric vehicles. It is a test of whether the 21st century's defining industries can be built in new places, by new hands, on new terms. And the world is watching. This is Sal Peer, signing off from Vlog ND, where we work to uncover the true stories of Africa and the world. Thank you for watching. If this deep dive challenged your thinking and helped you see the complex forces shaping the African continent more clearly, please consider subscribing. It helps us continue this work and ensures you never miss what comes next. We truly appreciate your support.